Earlier in the week, on Wednesday to be precise, Nigeria's Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, formally declared his intention to vie for the presidential ticket of the All Progressives Congress. Akpabio joins us now for more on his presidential ambition. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are known with the phrase uncommon. That's a good place to start it.
Yes.
What's the uncommon agenda for Nigeria should you become president?
Very simple. First, thank you for having me. And secondly, I greet the viewers. And of course, I also congratulate my fellow aspirants that the number is swelling, and that is good for democracy. For me, the word uncommon did not come just like that. It was a word that was coined by the then EU ambassador to Nigeria, David McCray, after I went through my tutelage and my days as governor of Akpabio State between 2007 and 2015. So he described what he saw as transformation extraordinaire, meaning uncommon transformation. And so that is how he came to stick. And Nigerians started calling me uncommon, based on what they were seeing on ground. So for Nigeria, I believe that the word uncommon means doing things in an uncommon way, bringing uncommon solutions to bear on the three major issues that seem to face us right now. The first issue is the issue of insecurity. The second one is the issue of unity of the country, national integration, and bringing an end to various accusations for separatism. And the third issue is the issue of the economy, making sure that we can have 3 square meals a day, Nigerians are gainfully employed, and the youth stop the restiveness as a result of the fact that you have gotten them involved in the economy of the country. I think basically that's what I would say uncommon means. And bringing an uncommon approach to governance. I don't want to talk about my days as governor, but I do know that what made it so uncommon was that everybody knew that my state, Akpabio, was almost like a pedestrian state where people pass through to Port Harcourt or to Calabar. It wasn't a destination for Nigerians, but after my stint as governor of the state, it became a major destination for conferences, for individuals, for tourists, and also for businessmen who needed to invest. And they came there, and a lot of people relocated, including big businesses that came there. And so that was quite uncommon. And I also did uncommon projects, quality projects and all that. So that's how you're talking about uncommon. So what you expect for Nigeria will be uncommon unity of the entire country, where there is no difference between a Muslim and a Christian. Uncommon unity where there is no difference between people who speak different dialects or religions, or people who speak different languages, or there's no ethnic divide. You know, we see each other as Nigerians, and above all, we have only one agenda in this country, and that's Nigeria.
I'm glad you talk about, identifying 3 key issues plaguing Nigeria, namely insecurity, national integration, and the economy. Let's talk about national integration. You've just talked about the need for all Nigerians to see each other as one, to be unified and all of that. National integration. Nigeria finds itself in a place where different parts of the country find themselves not having a sense of belonging. Talking especially about the southeast, you have Sunday Igboho, agitating in the southwest. If you were to become president, number one, have you been able to diagnose exactly why this sense of disunity in Nigeria? And what would you do to bring Nigerians back to a place where they have this sense of oneness?
I have had deep reflection on how to integrate Nigeria and how to unify Nigeria. So I would like you, when you are looking at aspirants, as we all come forward, try to look at our record and see it's not just about we talking about things. It's important to look at the record and then judge for yourself whether we can do it or not. First, if we're able to show love to one another, if we're able to engender love, both in action and then ensure equity, justice, and fair play in all actions of government, then automatically you would have solved the problem of accusations and separatism. So I've looked at all those strata, those segments, those sectors where people seem to be unhappy here and there. And you also have to realize that some of them are politically motivated. It's not as if some people are not happy. They may be happy, but because of the unemployment, in the society. A lot of people are very vulnerable. And so it's easy to recruit youth, to cause trouble, to agitate, to do this, to do that for political gains. But outside that, I think I have a clear blueprint on how I'm going to unite Nigeria, and that will start from me. I don't want to talk so much about my past, but you see, you can use the past to judge the future.
Right.
So when I had the opportunity, I united Nigeria in a way. First, in terms of pilgrimages that Nigerians feel so much about. You know, Nigerians love God. I made sure that as I was sponsoring Christians to Jerusalem, I also sponsored Muslims. And these things were not meant for public discourse. So I was able, in 8 years as governor, to sponsor over 5,800 Muslims in the Holy Land. And then, of course, in terms of appointments, I was lucky. I went to a federal government college where I had the opportunity to interact with all Nigerians and right from my birth. So I don't have anything about tribal instinct or affiliation or sentiment in my body. So every Nigerian is my brother. And so I was also able to bring Nigerians around me. For instance, my ADC that I started with was from Bauchi State. My CSO was from Kano, and my orderly was from Kaduna. And I did not know they were from all those states. All I knew were Nigerians who were capable. And that was the same way I reflected my appointments at the state level and all that. And then at the same time, when I extended help to the religious bodies like the Khan, and then of course the Muslim Ummah, I made sure that I also gave them grants for them to put for the poorest poor in the different mosques in the state. And at the same time, I gave Christian Association of Nigeria millions also as grants to put for the poorest people, because that's where, you know, the pressure is most in the churches and in the mosques and all that.
So you want to replicate this at the national level?
I'll be happy to have the opportunity to replicate this at the national level.
Okay, I'm glad you said, you know, it starts with you. And you mentioned equity, fairness, and justice. Let me also take you back to what you started with when you're talking about the number swelling of aspirants. Several people, former Governor Ibikula Amosu says, the more the merrier. We've also had many aspirants who say,
also says,
the more the merrier.
Yes.
But we had Governor David Umahi on our breakfast show this morning, and he said, quote, it is becoming very, very uninteresting and very unfortunate because some of those involved should not be part of it. The agitation for a Southeasterner to become the next president, don't you think that's a good place to douse the agitations, the secessionist argument? Say, for instance, former governor Godswill Akpabio says, you know, I'm withdrawing from this race. This should go to the Southeast, and I'll use my position to push for a Southeasterner. Don't you think that's a good place to start?
If you use that, you are going to fail. You know why? Why? Because right inside my house, my wife is from the Southeast. and so bringing her to the villa means automatically that the Southeast is already there. And my children also have part of their blood as Southeast, so don't go there. If you go there, you'll fail. You know. So the reality is that it's not really a question of zonal presidency. It's the way we are handling it is fantastic. You have the North and the South. Let's just keep it that way. If we want to dissect it, and people will say, let's go smaller. Let's go to ethnic groups. I always use the example of Adamawa. To my knowledge, probably more. Adamawa has about 87 ethnic groups. I don't think you're aware of that. So by the time you start trying to go down, it's a microzone. Eventually we'll come down to, let it come to my ethnic group. What are we going to do? And eventually you'll come to the families and they will say, no, your family once had a counselor. Let it come to my own family. So really, it's better for us to keep it as North and South. And then you shouldn't be worried about whether the Southeast will have the opportunity or not. They will definitely have the opportunity. But my belief sometimes...
when will they have that opportunity?
Of course, there are a few things I believe that we have to put in place in the Southeast.
Like what?
For instance, security. We have to be our brothers' keepers. We have to ensure that people can sleep well in the Southeast. We have to speak when we ought to. We have to also talk to the children, because this question of insecurity starts from the home. We have to advise our children when they take certain actions and all that. We must not encourage them. We must not keep quiet. And then when the situation gets worse, then we begin to talk. So really, for me, the question then is, let's not create a situation of fear at all in the country. I love my children to go to the Southeast and feel very free. I said when I was 9 years old, I had the opportunity to travel from Aba by train all the way to Zaria, and I was alone. And I went for interview in Nigeria Military School, Zaria. I slept somewhere in Aba. I won't mention the place, but it wasn't a hotel. And I entered train, and I was not afraid. And I got to Zaria, and I stayed in Zaria for 3 weeks, and my parents were not worried. My poor mother was not worried, and she knew that I was coming back because I was a Nigerian, and this was Nigeria. I'd like to see that Nigeria again.
Okay, hopefully we can see that Nigeria again. You've been commissioner on common governor, you've been senator, minister, still not satisfied. Now you want to be president.
Oh my
now
God.
let's look at some of the, actions of yours that, would recommend you to be the next president of Nigeria. You are currently the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs.
Yes.
And a few issues that have been bothering the minds of especially people in the Niger Delta. The issue of the NDDC board that's not been in place. What exactly is responsible for that? And there is the forensic report that you set the ball rolling on. I know that when you were handing over the report to Mr. President, you actually pleaded with him to expedite action on it. But we haven't seen anything yet. What's holding all of this back?
First, I'd like to correct you.
Okay.
Service to your country, comes at a time. I was, some time ago, I was in Jerusalem, and I had the opportunity to sit near to Ehud Barak, who was one-time Prime Minister of Israel, And we were chatting, and he told me that he has served the country as Joint Chiefs of Staff, he has served the country as a Minister of this, he has served as Secretary of this. He mentioned the rollout. And he said, even now, I've served as Prime Minister many times, and I'm retired. But should duty call, I will stand up and defend Israel. Right. Should duty call. So here you are. In a period like this, when you are even talking about insecurity, talking about this, we need capable hands with experience. You can't buy experience. You can only experience. So this is where Godswill Akpabio comes in. Because he has done it before, he's doing it now, then you should be able to trust. Because what is there is to build trust in the citizenry. Nigerians need to trust their leader. We trusted President Buhari, that's why we brought him on board.
Right.
And then, of course, he has also been able to show us integrity, recognize all of Africa. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria today has a better image within the African region, and even within the world scene. So, people trust me. You cannot tell me that at a time like this that Nigeria needs me. I should say, no, give it to Ngozi because I've been there before. That's what they are saying.
Why not?
Well, yeah, we have to look at your record.
That's not
so on the issue of forensic audit, we have been able to handle it very, very well. You've seen now that people have calmed down. They now know it wasn't a witch hunt. It was done for the sake of the region. It was very genuine intention to make sure that we looked at the past. Because right from 1958, we had tried so many agencies and commissions to develop the Niger Delta. It was always a question of what do we do to develop the minorities of Nigeria, particularly those in the Niger Delta region. And of course, particularly the South region, where so much wealth was coming out, but so little development was seen. And of course, the people took to a struggle and all that. So a lot of those developmental agencies failed because of one thing, corruption. So I described NDDC at the time here as a place that I did not know was just an ATM. That people went there to pluck money to go for anything they wanted to do. And so they would need to institute that forensic audit, and I thank Mr. President for it. It's not every president that would have done it. I said so before. And with due respect to my past leaders. Because it's only when you are sure of yourself that you can call a forensic audit. He is sure of himself. He's sure of his family. That's why he called for the forensic audit. And it has been carried out. What are
the key findings in that forensic? What did it reveal?
It was ordered by Mr. President, and it was submitted through the Attorney General of the Federation to Mr. President. And the Attorney General, to my knowledge right now, has taken the necessary steps. The ICPC is on it. The EFCC is on it. And all the relevant agencies. And of course, where we need to tinker with the law, they are working on it as a committee in the Office of the Attorney General. And so definitely you are going to hear about the outcome of the forensic audit and also hear about the outcome of the implementation. I said if you go there now, you'll see not less than 30, 40 contractors on a daily basis. So there's no need to just run forensic audit on pages of newspapers without getting something tangible. We have to, rejig the modus operandi of the NDDC for it not to die like other past agencies. The last one was UNPADEC. That's on one side. I don't know, the other question you asked me about was about board.
The NDDC board.
Yes, the NDDC board, when I came on board on 21st of August 2019, I discovered that yes, it was well-intentioned, but there were certain provisions there that did not go in line with the act. For instance, the state that was to have the chairmanship was not given the chairmanship because the law in section 4 says it should go in alphabetical order. And so that had to be stopped. And then for the forensic audit to be undertaken. And this wasn't even something that was started by the president. It was an accusation by governors of Niger Delta who said, before we put in place the board, let us go ahead and take a holistic look at what happened in the past. Because this agency that is owing over 2.9 trillion is also on its way out. An agency that spends trillions, but staying in a rented apartment, paying over 300 million a year, and could not even finish the head office that was started in 1994. So it's an amazing situation, and the people did not feel the impact of it. I did over 200 kilometers of dualized road. If you ask me how many dualized roads did NDDC do in the last 19 years, I won't be able to point out. But right now, within this period of this forensic audit, without giving out any contract, we have completed over 88 roads, and we have finished the head office that was abandoned for over 25 years. And then, of course, we finished a police barracks that was abandoned for 17 years. And we are now tackling the issue of housing for students in different universities. We just commissioned one, about 1,100 bed space hostel in University of Uyo, and that is going to be replicated across the other 8 states of Niger Delta. We are tackling the issue of electricity right now in Ondo, where they also abandoned for 14 years. One senatorial district has no light in Ondo State. And then particularly the oil producing areas. And they have started 132 kVA at substation and abandoned it for so many years. And so we are hoping, by the grace of God and the support of Mr. President, that in the next 3 months, that should be history. So let the people begin to feel the impact of the NDDC and why it was set up.
Very quickly, I have 2 questions for you. We are happy to hear that the EFCC and the ICPC are on this, because Mr. President had promised that those who were siphoning the nation's funds will be brought to book.
Yes.
But let me ask you about the Niger Delta, because you understand the plight of the people. We've seen oil bunkering, and just weeks ago we saw over 100 people die in Imo State as a result of the illegal oil refinery they were doing there. Should you become president, what would you do different with the Niger Delta community when it comes to oil bunkering and sabotage of pipelines?
Well, outside sensitization, I'll get the youth meaningfully employed. If you get them meaningfully employed, there's no way they'll go into bunkering and all that dangerous vices. We also involve technology in monitoring to make sure that that issue is brought to an end. It's not a new issue. When I was a governor, I also tackled that issue and brought it to an end. And even the gas flaring in the Niger Delta region, if you know the place in Ibadan, where Mobil has the headquarters, I brought in a company from United Kingdom. They put in over $500 million. And I partnered with them. The state also made a deposit of $68 million to become the off-taker. And then we built a gas processing plant. And then we did 69 kilometers of gas pipeline from there to the aluminum smelter company in Ikorobasi. And we did 52 kilometers from there to the NIPP in Calabar underground. And these are not things you hear outside, because these are fantastic news and it's not good for people to know. So in reality, once we can get the youth meaningfully employed and then give them hope that yes, indeed, their future is secured, I think they will stop all those things. And we intend to do that. And then
in 20 seconds, my second question.
Yes.
How confident are you that you'll pick up your ticket? I mean, Mr. President has said he has someone close to his chest. We have the other likes of Bola Tinubu, a vice president on that list, your colleagues who are ministers, 7 governors. How confident are you?
Well, I will say it in just one slogan. Let God's will be done in Nigeria. You know why I'm saying that?
Why?
Normally, I don't look for anything. I'm not a desperate man. I always believe let the will of God be done. And my prayer always is that let God look at our hearts and see the person that will best do the job and carry Nigeria along and then show love to all and sundry.
Are you that person?
And I believe I have those capacities and those capabilities.
We'll
and this has happened before. In my state, I had the opportunity to defeat about 57 people through the will of God. And the slogan was simple: let God's will be done in Akpabio.
All right,
and at the end, the story is there for all to see.
Senator Godswill Akpabio, thank you so much. The uncommon declaration that may lead to uncommon victory.
Yes.
Wish you the very best. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
joining
much
us
for having me.
on Newsnight.